Hey, Jan,
Yes.
it's our third episode of the Rusty and Jan show. I can't believe we made it this far when we first started doing this. I can't believe it. It's really amazing.
O ye of little faith.
I know, I gotta say, you really stepped up your game. You've done a wonderful job promoting this and editing this and producing this. They know it wasn't me.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rusty. Well, if you think you can handle it, let's do it again.
Okay. When the world comes crashing down on us, they're always there, and they're always happy company because they care. Oh, yes, they care. And when you need to take out pain, well, no one else will do. Dial the phone or go on Zoom. Thank God there are friends like you. I said, thank God there are friends like you. We are so glad to be back, and we are happy to present to you some of our uh, now regular features, starting with Giggin' with Jan, where she tells us about virtual music opportunities available during a pandemic. This will be followed by George's Corner. Sounds delectable. I can't wait to see what he's cooked up this week.
Yes, and our episode would not be complete without Rusty's senior moment. He'll be talking to you about one of Philadelphia's greatest historic resources that's currently unavailable.
Yes, but our guest tonight will be Charles Nolan. I've known Charles as a talented songwriter and spiritual activist. In the brief times we've gotten to speak, he's always struck me as a man who's arrived at his present destination by taking a diverse, inspired path. I'm sure we're all in for some surprises.
I'm sure we are. But before we get started with all of that, we'd like to play a song for you.
We would?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's it. The one we rehearsed?
Yes, the one we rehearsed.
Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't help but see in the news this week that teachers are really getting a lot of pressure, to go back to school and start teaching, because and they've had to strike and they've had to say it's not safe yet. You have to take care of us who take care of these kids. So tonight, I just wanted to dedicate a song to them and the frontline dedication that they provide. It's called All Her Little Kids. She meets them in the morning and she helps them start their day. She redirects those little ones who sometimes lose their way. She smiles at all the parents and she reassures their trust. She helps her little charges learn those things they must. She helps them to the classroom as they file down the hall. She helps them keep in order as they huddle near the wall. She helps them strip the coats and gloves and all the things they must rid. She then begins the conversation with her little kids. She tells the story she has read so many times before. She sees that look of wonder as she reopens every door. She introduces people's past and all the things they did. She gives her time and work and heart to her little kids. She teaches them of kindness and all about the golden rule. She helps them use their little hands to handle daily tools. She does not stand for monkey business when one acts like the fool. She wipes the tears and calms the fears. She's very cool. She starts them off upon the path that each of them must find. She teaches them to think and grow as she expands their mind. She holds a little sadness with each final goodbye bid. She still loves each and every one of her little kids. She still loves each and every one of her little kids. All her little kids. All her little kids. And now it's time for Giggin' with Jan.
Hello and welcome to Giggin' with Jam. When we went to quarantine last year, the music scene had to regroup with virtual shows using Facebook Live, Zoom, and other social media platforms. Open mics were no exception to this. And as most of our friends know, the Malelani Cafe open mic was one of the very first to take this step into the virtual world. It certainly was a learning experience, but we figured it out together. I'm proud to say that as a result, we've expanded our Malelani family with some new friends, and we now have participants as far away as Massachusetts, Florida, and California. There are many other virtual open mics as well. Each has their own group page with their own set of procedures for signing up and performing. Here are some of our favorites. Obviously, Malelani Social Distance Open Mic is our favorite. We love our community, and it's an honor to host every week. It's held every Thursday from 7 to 10:30 on Zoom, and then the session is live broadcast to the Malelani Open Micers group page. Sign up is Wednesday at 5 p.m. with a list of available times posted to the group page. You comment and tell us what time you would like to play, and then we send you the Zoom link and you join us, and then when it's your turn to play, you play a 15-minute set. The Berks County Quarantine Open Mic is every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sign up starts on Wednesday with a list of available times within their group page. Participants tell the admins their desired time and comments. During your designated time slot, you perform a 30-minute set on the group page using Facebook Live. The folks and admins are usually very supportive, and it's a nice, friendly atmosphere. Crooked Eye Virtual Open Mic is named for the brewery that used to host it. Their virtual open mic occurs every other Monday, and the Wednesday before, they announce the sign up and post a link to an external site. Once there, you create an account and then choose their event and pick a time. During the open mic, you use Facebook Live to perform a 15-minute set from their group page. Delco Quarantine Open Mic hosts a casual Wednesday open mic using Facebook Live. The list is posted earlier in the day, and you pick a time slot by typing it in comments. That night, you use Facebook Live to perform 30-minute set from their group page. On the first and third Wednesday of each month, PFS and PASA team up to present a digital open mic on Zoom with Rob Lincoln as the host. He's the hostess with the mostest. You sign up by responding to the Facebook event, and then when you are sent the Zoom link to participate. There are some other virtual open mic events that you might want to check out. Desert Southwest Open Mic, which performs on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Woodland presents Mummers and Others. That's going to be an interesting one. We should check that one out,
You
Rusty.
have to, yeah.
That one is every Thursday. New Jersey Virtual Open Mic, that runs Friday through Sunday. That's another one I've been wanting to check out. PASA Virtual House Concerts is every other Saturday. We've gone to that one a number of times. It's always a fun time. And
Open chair.
yeah, they have an open chair. It's three performers, and so it's round robin. And at the end of every round, they have an open chair where you can have an opportunity to play a song. And Rusty and I are going to be one of the performers on the 20th of February. And last but not least, Whiskey Unplugged Open Mic, which occurs every Wednesday. If you have any favorite virtual music events, please mention them in the comments section below. Now, a word from one of our sponsors, Malelani Cafe. It's time for George's Corner.
I thought I was the hostess with the mostest.
Hey everybody, welcome to George's Corner. I would just like to thank Jefferson Barry for doing his interview last week. It was so awesome. I'd just like to remind everybody we have open mic on Thursday, and to sign up on Wednesday, it's a virtual open mic and you can sign up on Facebook. And today we're going to talk hummus. So, at the cafe we serve a lot of hummus, and our hummus is delicious. So, we're going to give you the ingredients we use. So we use chickpeas, salt, lemon zest, olive oil, and then we also use cumin and tahini. The secret to our hummus is actually fresh lemon and lemon zest, garlic, which is fresh garlic, and roasted garlic. That's what makes our hummus so special. And now, welcome to a little history about Mount Airy. So last week I just gave you a little information. So this week we're going to talk still about Mount Airy in the 18th century. And actually you can still see some homes from the 18th century originally on Germantown Avenue. And those homes are like the Chew home, the Johnson house, which is actually was Michael Bilmer's house, and also the Baggerstown School, which is now Lena's Cafe, which used to be Little Jimmy's. Those are houses that were originally from the 18th century that were on Germantown Avenue.
And now it's time for Rusty's Senior Moment.
Hi, everybody. This is my senior moment. I just want to give you some reflections that I have of things that I've been interested in as a senior, and this is something that I've been involved with a lot lately, and that's genealogy and the history of Philadelphia. Unfortunately, one of the problems we have of the history of Philadelphia is we have a great museum at the Atwater Kent, but it's closed right now. Now, I thought when I became a senior and I got my bus pass that I was going to be checking out museums all over town. Well, I got the bus pass, but the museum's all shut down. So, anyhow, one of the things that you'll see at the Atwater Kent is Octavius Catto. It's listed there of what he did for voting rights just after the Civil War, and he was murdered by the Moyamensing Hose Company under an Irish boss called William McMullen. He recently got his statue at City Hall, and it was a great day and a wonderful story. But I want to talk about Cato's wife, Caroline LeCount. She was the first black woman in Philadelphia area to pass the city's teacher exam. She went on to teach at the Ohio Street School for black students. She was a supporter of the Union during the Civil War, and she was also an activist who fought to desegregate Philadelphia's streetcars. Cato and his colleagues lobbied and prevailed with lawmakers in Harrisburg when Governor John Geary signed a law prohibiting segregation on the streetcars on March 22nd, 1867. Still, the work was not yet done. Just a few days later, Carolyn tried to board a streetcar in the city but was refused by a white conductor. After the incident, she alerted the authorities and showed proof of the new law. The conductor was arrested and fined $100, sending a message that segregation on streetcars was now illegal. Obviously, this was long before Rosa Parks. We would agree it's a wonderful story and one we should teach our kids. Unfortunately, it's locked inside the museum, and the museum's not open. It has some really important things like William Penn's Treaty Wampum Belt that he made with the Lenape Indians in an attempt to initiate brotherly love. So it's not a federal park. It has no federal funding. It's just like any other city or town in America, except that a lot of our values were formed right here that influenced the rest of America. So Dressel University is supposed to take it over, and we'll see how that goes. If you want to contact them, it's the Philadelphia History Museum at the Atwater Kent, 267-314-7059, or at info@philadelphiahistory.org. Put a little pressure on them. See if we can't get this thing open, and we'll meet you there someday. With that, we were especially excited to get a chance to sit down with our good friend Charles Nolan. This is how it went. Hi, everybody. We're so excited, Jan and I, to get to have another one of our Malelaniites featured for our little production here. Someone who you'd recognize if you've been coming there for any time at all. And one of our more interesting characters, could I say? Let us introduce Charles Nolan.
Right. Hello,
Hi,
Red.
Charles.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh,
I
you're
didn't know it was
welcome.
that interesting.
We think you're interesting.
Said, you know what? You're interesting in a secret kind of way. It's like every once in a while you reveal something about yourself, and I go walking away saying, "Boy, I wonder where he was, where he developed that thought process." The one thing I've noticed about you is that of all of my friends are folkies, but you seem to take a little bit from Kurt Vonnegut and that whole Maynard G. Krebs movement.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't just listen to folk music. I'm a big jazz fan, especially West Coast cool classical. I have classical music on in the background all day while I'm at work.
That's something I wouldn't have known about you.
Right, right.
And my two of my biggest influences are Bob Dylan and Cole Porter.
Oh, okay.
What do you
Well, that was
know?
going to be one of our questions. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I mean, there's definitely that, and some of the pieces you've done with Jan, like the saxophone
Oh
song,
yeah, spoken word, the
spoken
saxophone
word.
wind.
wind.
Yeah. And I'm going to be quite honest, doing open mics for about 50 years, that I've seen spoken word, and it's difficult sometimes. It's
Oh
hard
yeah.
to get into the head of that person, but if someone who does it well, I mean, it can just knock your socks off. And I've often found that with some of the things that you surprised me with.
Yeah. Well, I was the one thing that you may or may not know is that I was in the cabaret scene in New York City for 2 years and went to courses at the Actors Institute.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And
Now,
I'd,
what
I'd
was
been in
that?
acting and productions in
Cabaret.
college. And we were in cabaret, which is a lot of what the way I do my shows is very cabaret influenced, more
Oh,
so in this environment than in like an open mic where it's kind of loud and everything. Cabaret, you're combining song and spoken word around a central theme. You purposely introduce the songs and weave them into something, and you've got to do presentation as well as sing.
I
So I
see.
Okay.
had actual training in that for 2 years.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
I know Jeanette Pearlswig, I think, says that she was involved with that scene for a while.
Yeah, she was.
And interestingly enough, one of her teachers was
Huh.
Doug Anderson. He and I were pupils together.
Oh,
He
okay.
was in the same class I was in New York City, and then he moved to Philly, and then I moved to Philly.
Geez.
Wow. Small world.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a little bit more personally, if I could. Where did you come from, and how did you get here?
Oh, how many times do we have? I, I originally came from the Bronx. I was born in the Grand Concourse in 1945.
Uh-huh.
And then my parents, with the GI Bill, my father was a veteran. They moved up to the suburbs, up to Peekskill, New York.
Uh-huh.
I was there until I was 13, and then I entered the Marital Missionary Seminary
Uh-huh.
out just not that far out in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. I
Were
was
you
there
like
for
a
4
Catholic school graduate, that type of thing? Did you come through that type of a system?
Oh yeah, the boarding school, and
Uh-huh.
everybody there were guys studying for the priesthood. We were going to be missionary priests and
Uh,
bring the word to foreign countries. It
gotcha.
sounded a lot more interesting than Peekskill, New York at that point.
Yes.
And when I moved out to the college level seminary, that was in Glen Ellen, Illinois, about a half hour out of Chicago, and that's where I got involved in the emerging folk scene.
I see. I see.
The first off, Limelighters, Kingston Trio, especially Chad Mitchell Trio. I got into trios. I was in a whole bunch of trios. I,
It's
I was a bass. I was the bass singer in the trios.
hard to find.
Yes. Hard to find one that does it well.
Right.
Like,
Right.
we worked out. Well,
Yeah.
the funny story would take us all night. I got three of us who were in the seminary and were a trio in the seminary. Found a job with my mother's help at a resort in upstate New York where it was just New York City cops. And they hired us. They had a nightclub there, and folk was up and coming. So they hired us for the Tuesday night show. So they hire us and then say, okay, you're going to start Tuesday night. You got, I think it was like 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 15-minute breaks in between sets. We had about 8 songs. So
Oh,
we
wow.
so we
Yeah.
had to learn 3.5 hours of material very, very fast.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I
So
bet
we basically we worked out a formula. We worked out an arrangement, and our lead singer was good with lyrics.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So we had to learn. The basically lead guy, big tenor voice. He went out there. Then the high singer would go half like a third above him, and then I would mimic his third an octave down, and that was our sound.
Okay.
Okay.
We
Okay.
just ran that. We managed to get, and then we figured by the last set, people will have left. So we reconstrued, recycled things in different order.
Right.
Okay. So that's how you got into music. When did you start songwriting?
Well, I dabbled with it a bit, but much as people tell the story about they jumped into rock and roll when they saw the Beatles and Ed Sullivan,
Uh-huh.
very important day of my life, I bought a Chad Mitchell Trio record, and on the flip side of the record was the first recording ever before Peter, Paul, and Mary of Blowing in the Wind.
Okay.
I remember looking at the record and it named who wrote it. I said, "Who's Bob Dylan?" Well, what happened was it was the year of the March on Washington, and it was going to be a TV special the night before the march. Joan Baez and Freedom Singers and this guy called Bob Dylan. I thought I'll check him out, and I was expecting somebody who would sing like Chad Mitchell or Harry Belafonte or something. And I still remember, all of a sudden, this guy comes walking out on the stage, and I heard this horrible sound. And it took me a minute to realize he was blowing through a harmonica on some kind of frame. Then he started to sing, "How many roads, Missy Man?" Well, I thought, this is crazy. What is this? And there were some more regular songs, John Baez and this group, choral group. And then about halfway through, he comes back, but he's sitting on the edge of the stage, and there's some people gathered around him, and he did the ballad of Medgar Evers, that bullet from the back of a bush took Medgar. And it was basically poetry, one line after another, but not from ancient times or Shakespeare, but from something that's happening right now. About halfway through his performance, this thing in the back of my head went, and that was that. It was like, that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Take it up.
Wow.
Wow. And you knew just like that.
Oh yeah, it just was like everything changed.
Huh.
And
So you have a defining moment when you knew that you would write songs.
Well, you know,
I had to write songs for about 6 months before I had anything I could keep
Wow. Well, that's
that people would listen to more than once. It took me a while to get it down.
I think that's pretty typical.
Yeah.
it's interesting that you mentioned how you had your enlightenment with Bob Dylan. And I think a lot of the people that we talked to would share an experience similar to that. With me, it was probably Pete Seeger. Um, but I can't help but think now, speaking to you, that we were so ready for an enlightenment because we were coming out of Ozzie and Harriet
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
those best,
Well, part of why I went into the seminary in the first place was to get out of the whole Ozzie and Harriet thing. I mean, it was like I was living in that, and it was just didn't do it. My parents had a
I
good life, and they got along. They stayed together, as opposed to what happens now with people.
Yeah.
And, but I wasn't the life I was interested in.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
Of course, I wound up coming back to it like everybody does. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
I had a
Well,
wife, I got 3 kids, 6 grandkids, so
I
life
mean,
has a way of pulling you back in.
right.
yeah.
Rusty almost got went into the seminary, but then he realized he liked girls too much. So
Yeah, eighth grade, they came around to St. Mary's in Camden, the Carmelite order, and they had me and another guy, Michael Doyle, not the one that you might be familiar with, but signed us up for right after graduation from eighth grade. We were good to go.
Yep,
Yeah, but
exactly.
other things happened in eighth grade that prevented that. I can't imagine what they might have been.
would it be the fairer sex?
It could have been.
So how would you describe the music that you typically create?
Oh, well, it can go any number of directions. Basically, within the folk singer songwriter venue with little variations. Also, I'm not a very proficient guitarist. I can do some basic stuff, so I don't do anything fancy. I could not write jazz songs. I've written a few, but I have to do them a cappella. And generally speaking, something I create has very little to do with me. I can't decide, I will now create. It just comes and says, you need to write this down now before you forget it. And I write very quickly, or just get a few words and then have to come back and labor over it and labor over it and labor over it. And generally speaking, I can hear the music as I'm writing it, then I just have to figure out the arrangement and then
Okay.
find the chords and all that. And and I'll get on a roll if I'm writing in a set, like an organized set. One song will kind of bring on the next, bring on the next, bring on the next. I'll literally be eating, and all of a sudden, the song idea comes down, and if I don't write it down fast, it's going to get away. And I'll get a very like just sort of let it run and get a first draft, and I'll go back and do a lot of fooling with it and all.
Right. So that's what your creative process is like too. Okay.
Pretty much, it's not very disciplined. I know some writers have to sit down and write between this time and this time.
So you're more of a conduit than you are, it's I've heard that from so many people that it's not so much that you create as much as you allow the
Yeah,
creation to come
just get
through
out
you.
of its way. And Jack Hardy called it getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what improvising is like for me. I don't write songs, but that's what improvising is like for me. I can't, people are like, how do you do that? I don't know.
Oh
So,
yeah, you seem to be able to just play with anybody.
ah,
It zips in whatever they're playing, whatever key, and there you are.
yeah, most of the time. Sometimes I'm at a like, but I would say most of the time I come up with something.
I,
Some I
I,
like more than others.
I frequently say that about there. I really do believe her greatest gift is her ability to accentuate what other people are doing,
Thank you,
make
sweetheart.
them look good.
And I can't even tell you how I even do it. I don't have a process. It's just what I hear. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
same thing.
that thing, that inner force that drives us that no one has ever been able to figure out.
Right.
But
Yeah, I know.
without which life wouldn't be worth living.
Yeah, here's a question out of left field. How did the JFK assassination affect you?
Well, the answer to the question, where was I when he was shot, was I was at the seminary cleaning toilets
Oh,
Wow.
on a snowy day in November, and literally all of a sudden the word got all around the house, and I
Right.
put down my squeegee. It was like,
yeah.
and I mean, it was like this total shock. I mean, this the idea that this could happen, that sort of thing would happen in Abraham Lincoln's day. The fact that it was happening in ours just left us
Right.
all bewildered. Also, he was like the tide, the new frontier, the tide of a new beginning for the country, civil rights and all that. So to have him get picked off like that really shut us down. We didn't have school the next day. We all sat around the TV and watched things as they unfolded. And then, of course, the Jack Ruby thing, just
Right.
bing, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Like any sense of order just went out the window.
Yeah. And it's
Right.
almost like we as children woke up that day. For me, I was in fifth grade, so it's
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was aware of what was of the world out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Walter Cronkite got us through that.
Yeah. Right. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Oh
So
God.
why don't you play a song for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me. Here's a song that I first premiered at the Songs of Low Self-Esteem.
Yay!
What did I do on Rusty and Jam?
Oh yeah, it's one of our favorites.
Yes.
And this, as you know, is based on a true story. I had gone through a transitional period, and I was on Paxil for a while, but it kept me calm, but also made me very drowsy. And I fell asleep during a meeting I was running, and it was like not a good idea. So, but I turned around and just pretty much stopped. And a week later, we were living in New York, and 9/11 hit right after I'd stopped Paxil. So it was like hell of a time to stop taking Paxil, and the song just took off from there. True story. One thing that'll knock you around for sure is trying to face the world when you're pharmaceutically insecure. Instead of too little info, there's too damn much. Only way to stay sane is stay completely out of touch. The world's gone amok like a truck with a broken axle. Picked a hell of a time to be coming off Paxil. Can find enough solid ground left to ride a bike on. Even Superman's been downgraded to a pop culture icon. Everybody on the job is wound tighter than tight, pretending they don't mind it with all their might. If the next email doesn't bring bad news, the next fax'll. Picked a hell of a time to be coming off Paxil. The captain's retreating, he says he can't hold the fort. Can't do it with bullets, can't do it with St. John's wort. Well, I walk down the street like I know who I am, but inside I'm just a quivering mass of jam. If the overweight doesn't sink my ship, the cracks'll. Picked a hell of a time to be coming off Paxil. The land of opportunity has turned into a quicksand dump. We started with George Washington, we ended up with, I'm going to have to change that verse. Well, you might not guess under this John Wayne persona, I'm a teary-eyed, terrified, tongue-tied loner. Like everybody says, if the ducks don't get you, the quacks'll. Picked a hell of a time to be coming off Paxil. Picked a hell of a time. What was I thinking? Was I out of my mind? Picked a hell of a time to be coming off Paxil.
Woo! That's my favorite Charles Nolan song.
So I don't know if they use Paxil that much anymore. I'm out of touch.
It's true.
Yeah, you're right. I don't see that one. There's so many others out there now.
Yeah. And I'm sure no one's taking them now. You know what I mean?
Oh no, not at all.
It's probably
I'm sure
still.
that industry has taken off. And like whenever I go to the recycling bin down the block here, I can see another industry that's doing well. Bottles, bottles, bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Wine seems to be the beverage of choice.
I'll take that. So who you think? I mean, you've been around for a few years,
Right.
and you got to see more than a few musicians and met a few.
75 in all.
Yeah. Okay. Um, who's the most interesting artist you ever opened for?
Well, actually, that's glad you asked me that. That's one of my major influences. I mean, there's Cole Porter, Dylan, a bunch of others, but then about maybe 15 years ago at a Folk Alliance, I heard Sam Baker, Texas singer-songwriter, at the Folk Alliance. He got up on stage, and I had, at the time, and for a long time, I was writing very complex, very wordy songs. And he was able to say so much with so little, very simply, very compact, and and totally become the song. He got totally into it. So I thought, well, live performance, even cabaret, can be this, and I was, oh, you can do that. So I actually met him. I drank whiskey with him. It's like, hey, Bob Dylan's a big influence, but I never drunk whiskey with Bob Dylan. But anyway, I got to open for him because Jane Toohey booked him for a house concert in Philly, and she knew that I was a big fan. In fact, I have a song I wrote called "We're All Living in a Sam Baker Song."
Oh, that's great.
Decided so before he came on, I did a couple of songs, and of course, I did a song very much in his style. He was first thing I do if I like a songwriter, I try to steal it. I figure out how do I do a song like that, and I did the "We're All Living in a Sam Baker Song," and everybody's sitting there watching, and he's up on the staircase watching me do it. Talk about "Take Me Now," and I got to end the song by saying, "Speaking of the devil, welcome Sam Baker."
Perfect intro. Perfect seg.
Yeah. Now I haven't done the song in a long time. We were all living in a Sam Baker song, but I almost know it.
You almost know it.
If you're courageous and are willing to take a chance of me completely screwing up, I can try it.
Sure, why not?
Well, before you do, I have one more question.
One more question.
Yes. Now I understand when you picked up the guitar, and I've recently been hearing. Think Glenn Close I saw the other day say something about in order to be creative like this, to be a creative person, you have to have a certain degree of anger or frustration, or and
Frustration, yeah.
and I think that you and I probably coming out of the '60s felt some of that. But looking back now, if you had that guy who first picked up a guitar sitting in front of you, what advice would you give him?
Oh, well, yeah. Basically, the advice is to just do what you're good at, what you feel right about. And I'm obviously in no position to give advice to anybody about how to make money at this.
Well, that's something we all struggle with.
Well,
So.
we're working on it.
We're working on it.
I haven't stained my art.
Oh,
But about the only one who ever gave me a royalty check was Pat Wichter. He did a very beautiful version of one of my songs.
oh, nice.
We happened to be in the same songwriting circle, and he heard the song I did and was like, "I'm stealing that."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
I just had a couple of chords, and he turned it into one of his slide masterpieces.
oh yeah.
I actually got a royalty check.
Nice.
Which song was that?
That was "Your Gentle Soul Surrounds Me."
Oh.
wow.
I haven't done it that much frequently.
Uh-huh.
Recently, I haven't done it in a while. So I'm not prepared with it. But
Oh,
That's
okay.
fine. No, do
Well,
not pay attention.
well, I have the problem many people have. For some, I never had a problem getting up in front of an audience with all kinds of stuff going on and just doing a song. I get in front of the Zoom screen and I go blank. Songs I know completely well, just like the third verse vanishes.
That took some getting used to, for
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it may also be due to the lockdown. But I definitely suffer from Zoom blockitis. This blocks.
Blockitis, I like that.
Well, you know what you'll have to do is when we have the Return to Life Rusty and Jan show at Malelani on March the 20th, which is also my birthday and the first day of spring, you'll have to bring that song with you. And anyone who's watching today, you'll know that they'll hear it.
That'll be just about the anniversary of when I stopped going into work in person.
Oh,
Like
all right.
this isolation started the third Friday of March last
Yeah.
year.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was saying-
I have no sense of a year. It's all just a blur.
I was saying to Jan that the people over 65 who first got vaccinated, they're the ones who are going to be depended upon to restart the economy.
Right.
Aren't these people getting tired of depending on boomers all the time? We have to do everything for them.
Well, I've been very fortunate that they were able to keep the funding for our program going and have us work from home. And it took a few weeks to figure out exactly how that was going to work, and it's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah, we've
In
all
fact-
learned something.
In fact, it was basically monitoring, making sure people are all right, and it was evolved into, for some people, I'm the only one they talk to all day.
Sure.
Sometimes I'm just listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's and then also I've met people who never would have come to the social worker's office, but I've gotten to know them. And I think when we get back to normal, if we ever do,
Right.
we'll add a certain amount of phone monitoring to the normal business.
I think we'll be in a better place for sure. So thanks to guys like you who are there for that population.
Yeah, first, yeah, I'm working with a local medical provider where we think we can get them set up for vaccinations over the next several weeks.
Well, I know an old
We
nurse.
to work out a lot of chinks, but in terms of transportation, or if we can get enough to do an event there, so that's keeping me slightly busy.
Okay. Well, if you need an old nurse, I know where you can get one.
Right. Yeah, and there's even the issue you guys raise is if you're going to do it for one person in a household, should you do the whole household at the same time?
Yeah.
That's a definite issue.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I have a close friend. He's got multiple sclerosis, and he's still waiting for a vaccine, and I worry about his wife, who has to take care of him. You know,
Yeah.
where's he going to be if not for her? But as I say,
Yeah, the only solution will be widespread distribution.
that's it.
Like when more people have the vaccine than haven't,
Yeah.
and we got a really slow start, obviously.
Right. Well, we have to get it out there and stop worrying about who's going to get paid. You know, that's
Right.
Right.
that's it. So
All right.
anyhow,
Why don't you take us out with one more song?
yeah, great.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for everything. It's always been a pleasure to have you at Malelani and to be one of our special friends.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to try the Sam Baker song.
Okay.
Okay.
And one of the things they did in cabaret was trained us never ever apologize for your song and say, I don't know if I know this, I'm going to try it, or well, if you make a mistake, never go, oh, oops, I'm sorry. Just keep going. 90% of the people won't notice, and the rest will forget.
Absolutely. I always say I wouldn't have known you made a mistake if you didn't tell us.
And you are.
Oh yeah, but I warned you that I haven't sung this song in a couple of years, and I'm not 100% sure of the chords, but I'm a really good faker.
There we go.
So this is for Sam Baker, and I'd recommend anybody go online, look him up. He's a painter as well as a songwriter.
We
And
will.
He played Philly Folk Festival a couple of years ago. And I've seen him in big venues, small venues, Jane's living room, and it's always a pleasure to talk to him as well as to watch him work.
Right.
Anyway. You ever get to wondering when you're tangled up in knots? How all we crazy creatures only want what we ain't got. We love the wrong people, make the right ones hate our guts. Well, I was coming out of this bar 2 a.m, when all at once it hit me, kinda inner dawning. It just came up behind, grabbed me by the you-know-whats. I got it. We're all living in a Sam Baker song. Coming down the street, tripping over our feet, but somehow getting along. Only time we get it right is when we get it wrong. We're all living in a Sam Baker song. For instance, I had a good job, decent hours, decent pay, but I couldn't let that kind of thing get in my way. So I cut out 4 Juarez, found Jesus by the side of the road. He looked tired and hungry, in need of a lift, so I picked him up, trying to share life's gifts, and he robbed me at gunpoint. Now I'm walking, but at least I know we're all living in a Sam Baker song. Lost and lusting, falsely trusting, somehow stumbling on. Looking for the light, getting through the night, getting it right when we get it wrong. We're all living in a Sam Baker song. Truly, truly, what does that mean? You can be true all day. It don't mean a thing. The next time I get a crazy notion, I'm just gonna go for it. Well, I pissed off the boss and my past 2 wives. Anyway, you slice it, my whole damn life's been a waste of time. At least I got something to show for it. 'cause we're all living in a Sam Baker song. Taking and giving, riding and ridden, but somehow stumbling along. Clinging to each other for comfort, getting it right when we get it wrong. We're all living in a Sam Baker, doing our best to outguess our maker. We're all living in a Sam Baker song.
Yay!
Yeah, True is one of his songs. He has a song called True. So that's True. What does that mean?
Well, I'll have to Google that one. So,
Yes, we're going to have to check out Sam Baker now. Thank you.
Yeah.
and thanks for everything.
Okay, and thank you for being interested.
Oh,
yeah.
no, you're one of our friends, and we think you're actually one of our more interesting friends.
Yeah,
Oh.
and they weren't real busy. You know, so-
Malelani tends to attract a lot of interesting people.
Oh,
I think that's very
absolutely-
true.
that's
A
true.
lot of stories out there.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. So- All right then. Well then, I guess we'll see you maybe Thursday night for the.
Yes, I'll be back.
And thanks again.
You know, I'll watch the show Monday for sure.
All
Okay,
right.
yes.
I'm sure you will. Oh, right.
All right. Thank you, Charles.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I must confess, not in the Catholic sense, but that you can go to an open mic and see people for years and years and never get to know them the way we just did with Charles tonight.
Absolutely. It makes me excited for conversations yet to come in future episodes.
Yes, and if you're watching this, you might get tagged to do an interview with us in a future show. So we want to just spread out some knowledge about this community we're so lucky to be a part of.
Yes. And speaking of which, we're excited to interview the other Philadelphia music duo. Jeanette and Steve will be joining us next week.
Oh my goodness, you team up in a couple, you never know what's going to happen. It's
Sounds like double trouble to me.
It does. I know about that. So, anyhow, we wanted to thank you all once again for showing up to support us in all of our projects. We loved each and every one of you. And before we say goodnight, we want to play another song for you. Here's one about my grandfather. It's called Pop's Train. I was riding down Route 55 on my way to the Jersey Shore when the traffic began to slow like every summer before. I saw a sign for Tuckahoe Station down a dusty lane. I reflected on my childhood as I dreamt about Pop's train. My grandpop was a conductor on the Pennsylvania seashore line. We rode from Philly to Cape May, and that shoebox lunch was mine. Pop would punch your ticket as we sped by trees and towns. His playful smile could overturn your summer frown. We'd board Pop's train in Camden, then we'd travel down the track. It made some stops along the way, but we got them shoebies back. Pop called out each station, Ocean City, Wildwood, Cape May, and the sea and sand would call us on a Jersey summer day. One day we had a meaningful trip, the final trip for my pop. This night he would retire, but not before our special stop. He took me to the engine where I made that whistle blow. His conductor days came to a close in a town called Tuckahoe. I headed down that dusty lane till I reached its end. That was when I saw her, my forgotten childhood friend. I climbed inside and found that sea, one like in before. Thought back to my younger days and my trips down to the shore. I closed my eyes and I could feel the rumbling of the track. Only for a moment my sweet memories all rush back. Pop's train now sits and rusts away, her glory days long gone, but she will be remembered every time I sing this song. We'd board Pop's train in Camden, then we traveled down that track. We got some things along the way, but we got those shoebies back. Pop called down each station, Ocean Witty, Wildwood, Cape May, and the sea and sand would call us on a Jersey summer day. We'd board Pop's train in Camden, then we traveled down the track. We made the stops along the way until the beach would call us back. Pop called down each station, Ocean City, Wildwood, Cape May, and the sea and sand would call us on a Jersey summer day.